Ladies and gentlemen, this is yet another story I'm going to give you. CNN, New York Times, Trump and DOJ attorney had a plan to replace his acting attorney general. No way! This is fantastic! There's always a... hit subscribe to this channel. I'm going to give you the news. I'm going to read to you from CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times. But I'm going to do so from the vantage point of a supporter of President Trump. This is fantastic, my goodness. He had the whole world against him, and he was able to, in such a brilliant and ingenious way, find support within the Justice Department to further his political objectives. Trump and Justice Department lawyers said to have plotted to oust acting Attorney General. Well, that's interesting. Wow. So even though media was against him, the Democratic Party, Hollywood, corrupt intelligence officials, he still was able to. And you had William Barr, who was hit and miss. I mean, sometimes he supported President Trump, sometimes he didn't. But still, with everything, with all the cards stacked against him, a beleaguered president, still he was he was facing impeachment, and yet he still was able to get support within his Justice Department. A Justice Department, by the way, composed of a great many people who just wanted the president out. So you have to look at things from the vantage point of the glass is half full, not half empty. New York Times, Trump and Justice Department lawyers said to have plotted to oust acting Attorney General. Trump, Wall Street Journal, Trump pressed Justice Department to go directly to Supreme Court. Wow. That's interesting. Former president dropped the efforts to replace the acting Attorney General. Okay, so DOJ officials agreed to resign. Okay, so this is interesting because it kind of shows you the mentality of media and Democrats and a great many Republicans. Hit subscribe to this channel right this second. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. If you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, The Daily Caller, go to hagoodman.com. You can see my writing and also my debates. And if you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. They're going to try and disparage and demean Trump for the next 4 years. It actually worked in the last couple of years. The media machine was, leveled 92% negative media coverage against President Trump. 92% negative media coverage. With Biden, oh my God, God has brought Biden, I mean, they are embracing his rear end like you've never seen before. All their hopes and dreams all their prayers have been answered now. The problem is he's now engaging in the same type of foreign policy that I feared. It is a moral imperative. It was a moral imperative to vote for President Trump if you wanted to end America's longest-running military conflicts and bring home Americans. Unfortunately, you have President Biden now, who is engaging in the same type of failed foreign policy as President Obama, who presided over the destruction of a country. His NATO intervention led to turned Libya into a failed state. That alone is worse than anything they can attribute to President Trump, yet they call him the worst president ever and absolve President Obama of all the horrendous decisions that led to countless lives lost in Libya and other countries. And then you have Bush, who literally was the worst president of all time. That's why Jeb Bush was completely obliterated within the first couple days of the primary in 2015. So, that being said, they're going to try to go after President Trump, but what they're going to do is create a myth of him being invincible. Well, he was able, this is amazing, he was able to gather support within the Justice Department, the DOJ, even though he had virtually no support at that point within the Republican Party, or I should say, that's not true. He he had a great many people, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, unfortunately, who are now hiding under a rock. And these people should engage in a media offensive and explain why they defended President Trump, just like Rand Paul did today. But you had a great many people, I should say, in the House, and a number of senators, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, who defended President Trump. But after what took place in Washington, I condemn what took place. Trump did not tell those people to do anything. Unfortunately, the five people who lost their lives should be alive today. That's the real tragedy. But, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump, the last couple of months, or I should say the last month of his tenure as president, had the most negative media coverage you could ever imagine. And for him to garner support within the Justice Department, one way to look at it is he was brilliant in his ability to convey a certain vantage point that resonated even within the Justice Department. If you believe that's actually an accurate story. So, again, there are two ways to look at it. You might say, oh my goodness, you're grasping at straws. Well, no, check out my segment prior to this one. Michael Cohen said that he issued secret pardons. Okay, if that's true, that is a brilliant move to outmaneuver Democrats and Republicans who want nothing more than to undermine Trump. It's a pretty brilliant move. If he issued secret pardons that nobody knows of, and now he's immune to, well, first of all, he didn't commit any crimes. So that's a fact. He did not commit any crimes. He was never charged with a crime, nor will he be charged with a crime. If Clinton was able to get away with numerous criminal acts, like running servers outside of the United States government with top secret intelligence on them, anybody who did that and anybody who does that will receive decades in prison. Clinton was able to circumvent that because James Comey said that she didn't intend to use private servers. Okay, that's absurd. Of course you intend to use private servers. Why? To hide information. That's obvious. That's not rocket science. But see, Trump never had a Justice Department. He never had anyone by his side throughout the 4 years he was president. He really never had any. So, if you look at what he was able to accomplish, the Abraham Accords, being the first president to step foot in North Korea, reversing U.S. foreign policy, bringing home Americans from Syria, and we see what's taking place now with Biden. This is why I voted for President Trump. It's interesting. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that every move Democrats made, or every media assault against Trump, a lot of it worked. The past year or so, a lot of it worked. Unfortunately. Now, they're doing the same thing. They're not switching up, and it's actually working in Trump's favor. And they don't see that. When you run a news story with President Biden as president against President Trump, accusing him of actually having loyalists or having support within the Justice Department, or accusing him of secret pardons that Democrats were unaware of, you're actually creating a myth that he's untouchable, that he wields a great deal of political power and influence. You're actually bolstering him up after you spent 4 years trying to tear him down. All of this, from now on, not only will there be diminishing returns in going after Trump and trying to, undermine him and denigrate him and disparage him and demean him, the opposite will take place. You're actually going to bolster and prop him up and elevate and amplify Trump's voice. So every news story from here on out is only going to help President Trump. And that's the interesting thing. When Democrats say, oh my God, did you see what he did? They're speaking to a group of voters that only see Trump as a madman and a tyrant and a nightmare. The reality is that President Obama's foreign policy destroyed the lives of far more human beings around the world than President Trump's foreign policy. You can look at the lives lost and the sorrow and the chaos and the mayhem attributed to, obviously, Bush was the worst president of all time. His foreign policy was horrendous. But you look at the damage a president can do, most of it is foreign policy. President Trump was the only president in decades not to have started a war. Now, the left totally ignores that and says, well, he did this and that. Yeah, he did exactly what any other president would do. President Obama, Clinton, Bush, we know, would have done infinitely worse. That's the point. That's why it was a moral imperative to vote for President Trump, because you want to reduce militancy. You don't want a more hawkish president. So, ladies and gentlemen, they say that, he tried to influence the Justice Department. How is that possible if he had no political power at all? How is that possible if everybody was against him? And that's one way to look at it. It's interesting because you have President Biden now. This is interesting. The nation. What our forever wars will look like under Biden. Expect the new president to... Oh, really? While avoiding... This is hilarious. This is so hilarious. This article is written from the perspective of This is so unbelievable. This is so hilarious. The article doesn't talk about Biden's role. Let's see. In Libya. Oh, actually, somewhat. Oh, yeah, it does. That's because when two of them championed a heavy-handed regime change in Libya. Okay, and gives them a free pass for that. Completely a free pass. It's unbelievable. Without many Trumpsters and libertarians foresee disaster. That the man who, as a leading senator, facilitated and cheered the disastrous Iraq war will surely escalate American adventurism abroad. On the other hand, establishment Democrats and most liberals, who are desperately and understandably relieved to see Trump go, find that prediction preposterous. I love this. Clearly, Biden must have learned from past mistakes, changed his tune, and should responsibly bring U.S. wars to a close, even at a time still to be determined. In a sense, both may be proved right, and in another sense, both may be proved wrong. See, the nation is incapable of actually defending Trump. President Trump presided over. President Trump was the first president to step foot in North Korea, to begin serious détente between North and South Korea. President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. President Trump presided over the Abraham Accords. His administration was responsible for the beginning of peace between Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, economic deals between Serbia and Kosovo. He removed Americans from Syria. So you see what's taking place. Right now, it's interesting. Many Trumpsters. It wasn't Trump who voted for Iraq. it was Biden. It wasn't Trump who destroyed Libya. It was the Obama administration along with Biden and Clinton. The Nation is a publication that's essentially a newsletter of the Democratic Party. They completely erase the reality of any responsibility or culpability that Democrats share in never-ending wars. The Trump administration. Trump is the first president in decades never to have started a war. President Obama got us into more regions than even Bush. Trump did not. President Obama presided over a tragedy in a failed NATO intervention. But see, it's like what our forever wars will look like under Biden. It's like there's nothing that in Biden's past that will show most Trump detesting and domestically focused citizens. Count on tactics, including mostly. These more than anything, Biden wishes to avoid overseas embarrassments. How do you know this? Like unexpected. What? He's only presided over failed foreign policy. So why would you assume that Biden would do anything differently? This is the problem with left-leaning publications. There's no difference between The Nation and a CNN article or The Nation article and an MSNBC or CNN or New York Times or Washington Post article. The difference is perhaps a slight condemnation of American foreign policy in general. And that's it. And that's as far as they'll go. Trump is still a bad person. Thank God he's gone. And even though we have Biden, see, I mean, that's the thing. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. There's always a way to look at you. You can't look at, from here on out, you can't look at any article or anything written about Trump and not see the positive side of it. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right this second.